It is disturbing that recently we have seen an attack when it comes to the value of education in the United States. There have been many articles and a lot of editorials, a lot of TV discussions relating to how we should not go to college. And they approach the issue of education and learning strictly from a monetary perspective. They will say things like, well, going to college will not make you money. Going to college is not a good investment. Not only this approach is wrong, because knowledge has to do with much more than the amount of money you make, but even if that was the argument, it is not true. We have increasingly see that people without college education actually make substantially less and have much harder time finding employment than those that have an education. The reason for that is fairly simple. We live in a very complex world, and education provides us with the tools required, the tools that employers are looking for, and the tools that make us more desirable to find employment. So to argue that the investment in education does not worth it is simply very misguided. I'm not even sure what is behind this effort. Globally, the United States is behind when it comes to the amount of educated uh, people in the workforce. We need to increase the education in the workforce, not decrease it. It is intriguing to me that anyone would make such a claim that going to college is a waste of time. And we're not talking about here everyone holding a PhD. Not at all. In fact, one of the amazing things that have happened in the United States when it comes to education is the rise of a second type of education, that it is about practicing a profession. We call it the practitioner model. So we can go to a traditional education, which will be based on research, scientific inquiry, etc., that prepares the person to become a scholar. And then we have a secondary type, universities that they are very much focused on practitioner models that really do not prepare their students to become scholars and scientific researchers, but rather they prepare the students to become practitioners, to go out in the field and use their knowledge to make better business decisions and to enhance the value of the businesses they work for, or often the businesses they lead. So education really provides an amazing array of opportunity. And in addition to make easier for a person to earn a living or hold a living, education does something else which is even more amazing. It allows us to make decisions that are better for us in all aspects of our lives. Education is not limited to having a job and performing job duties. Education is much more than that. The ability to critically think, the ability to research things before we make decisions, make us better employees, but also make us better people in general. The more we know, the better we are. The really effort that we see to devalue education is puzzling, and it will be intriguing to know who is behind this effort. Why would anyone spend this amount of effort to stop people from bettering themselves? Ultimately, education is about bettering oneself. Nelson Mandela has paraphrased a very, very important truth, and that is that knowledge is the only true power anyone can possess. People can take away your freedom, they can take away your material goods, they can break your heart, they can imprison you, they can beat you up. But, as Nelson Mandela said, they cannot take away what you know. So, knowledge is important. What you know is important. And we should not lose track of that simple fact. The more you know, the more valuable you are. How would anyone be successful in today's work environment without basic skills? For example, basic computer skills, basic analytical skills, understanding basic statistical analysis. All those things are not innate. None of us is born as a critical thinker. None of us is born knowing how to use statistics. This is something we have to go to college to attend. And there is a lot of nonsense about this college is good and this college is bad. All knowledge is good. There is no such thing as bad knowledge. We can have a lot of philosophical arguments about the best college and the worst college, but even if one goes to the worst college, assuming there is such a thing, I don't really believe there is. I think college is good. The variations relate really much more to the philosophical thought and the way the college is approaching learning and education than really a bad versus good college. But let's say there was such thing as the worst college. A graduate of the worst college, it's still better than a person that has not graduated from college at all. So keeping that in mind, I think it is very important to stop this nonsense of trying to convince people not to go to college. It is critically important that people educate themselves. An educated society is a better society. Educated voters, for example, tend to hold their government more accountable for its actions. Educated people make better decisions. Educated people make more money. There is absolutely not a single argument against education.